evening, your one and only Dr. Ish. And today I'm going to be talking about before you start a business, there are some things you need to fix first. Now, everyone wants to start a business, or maybe not everyone, almost everyone wants to start a business, but nobody wants to fix what makes the business fail. Many people start businesses, and when they start the business, they start passionate, they start happy, they have high hopes, they have dreams, they have plans, and yet, for some reason, or even many reasons, the businesses still end up failing. So, let me say something. It may upset you a little, but it's just the plain truth. Starting a business will not fix your financial problems. I've heard many people say, "Oh, Dr. Ish, if I start this business, if I earn more money, I'm not going to have any issues anymore. I'm not going to have any financial problems anymore." Trust me, that is actually not the case. Many times, if you have bad financial habits, if you lack financial discipline, or you do not have the system, processes, and structure in place to help you make good and smart, healthy financial decisions. If you have unhealthy financial habits, no matter how much you're earning as a salary, and even if you decide to have 5, 10, 20 side hustles or start any business, it will still fail. That is the news flash. That's it, the information I have to share with you. However, there are solutions to this, right? Today, the discussion we're going to have might expose those issues that make your business fail if you've tried in the past to start a business and for some reason it's failing. So if you're thinking of starting a business this year, maybe as a side hustle, or you want to leave your job to start a business, before you register your company, before you incorporate your company, before you go pouring all your life savings and hard-earned money to start this business, before you even design a logo, before you print that business card, there is one thing you need to fix. Stay with me. There's something you need to fix. So before you go starting that business, hey sister, good to see you online. Thank you for joining my live, sis. Glad to see that you're passing by. Thank you for stopping. So I'm just sharing my experiences. Thank you, sis. Thank you very much. So I know that this topic you may find it upsetting, but it's just the reality, and it's just I like being very practical. So before you start that business, the truth is everyone wants to start a business. Everyone wants to have a side hustle. Everybody wants to earn more money, but nobody wants to fix those mistakes that makes the business fail. So many people go into businesses passionate. I love this thing. I want to start this business. I'm so pumped. I'm so energized. I'm so ready. And yet, for some reason or many reasons, the business still fails. So, if you lack financial discipline, you have very unhealthy financial habits, starting a business will not fix your financial problems. Have you ever heard of the saying, more money, more problems? So it's not by having extra income, it's not by having more side hustles, it's not by starting that business that will solve your financial problems. In fact, it might expose them. So if you're thinking of starting a business this year, before you register that company, before you go get yourself a logo, company logo, before you register anything, before you print that business card, there is that you need to fix. So please stay with me. Now, many employees think, I just need my own business. I just need freedom. If I have my own business, I have financial freedom. I need to escape my boss. This job is too toxic. Newsflash, starting a business is not really as easy as you think it is. I mean, this is speaking from experience over the years. I have started so many businesses. In fact, I have failed in over 20 businesses. I've sold all kinds of things, and I've discovered that there are some fundamental things that if you do not fix them, you will keep failing in your business. And here is the truth. If you cannot manage $500, you will not be able to manage $5,000. If you cannot manage $100, you will not be able to manage $1,000. Hear me clearly. If you cannot manage a little money, you cannot manage a lot of money. Hi, Peter. Good to have you online. Thank you for joining my live session. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, so we're talking about starting a business. The things you need to take note of before you start that business. Starting a business is not the cure to your financial pressure. It's not the cure to your money issues. It can actually escalate and expose your lack of financial discipline. So the first and basic thing is, if you cannot manage little money, you can't manage big money. An example, typical example, if you can't manage, say your end of month salary, let's say your end of month salary is $200, $500, how are you going to be able to manage $5,000? In fact, I know some people that if they earn so much money, they just automatically develop high blood pressure because they are thrown in through a state of confusion. Businesses doesn't fix bad money habits. Let me repeat that. A business does not solve a bad money habit. It escalates it. It magnifies it. So if you're an overspender, if you have a tendency to always overspend the little money you have, you will definitely overspend in business. And this is just a reality. I've seen so many business owners that have poor track records of how they spend money. So if you overspend now with the little you have, you will also overspend from your business money. And you need to understand something. When you start a business, you have what they call, you're supposed to pay yourself a salary when you're having a business. So many people, the mistake many people make is that they spend their profits from the business. But I don't want to deviate too much, right? So I just want to talk about some other things, but let me just take it slowly, right? So if you overspend now, you will definitely overspend in your business. So the thing is, you need to first of all cultivate the habit of tracking your money now. Before you start that business, you need to cultivate the habit of tracking your expenses. Track the money that comes in and track the money that goes out. So when you're saying track the money that goes out, track exactly what you spend your money on. What are those little perks you have? What are those little habits, financial habits you have? Are you an emotional spender? Do you spend more money when you are sad? Do you spend more money when you're happy? Do you reward yourself for every victory that happens in your life? Or every time you're sad, you're upset, you find yourself going to spend money? Hi, Native Agro. Good to have you with me on my live session. So if you avoid tracking money now, you will definitely avoid your bookkeeping later. And one of the problems many businesses have that makes them fail within the first year to 3 years is because they have poor bookkeeping habits. Bookkeeping, simple terms, tracking money. So if you lack that discipline now, you will definitely struggle with consistency. So before you go start that business, before you go register that company, before you go start getting yourself one beautiful logo, getting your brand colors, doing a complimentary card, announcing that you have a business, you have to learn how to run the business. Now, this is even separating from identifying if you are skilled and technically equipped to manage the business. But you must first of all learn how to manage your salary. Let's imagine you're a salary earner, you're an employee, and you say, oh, if I start my business, I can call the shots, I can do what I want, I can earn as much as I want, I can start when I want, close when I want. Beautiful, valid reasons. But if you don't know how to manage that business will fail within the first 1 year. And trust me, there are more business failures than business celebrations. Let me use that term. So first of all, before you start your business, fix your personal money management. Do you have a budget? Do you have a budget? What is a budget? A budget is a tracker, a money tracker that helps you know exactly what comes in, what goes out, your spending habits, how you spend, what are those things that are taking your money, your daily expenses, your weekly expenses, your monthly expenses. You need to have an idea, a range of what your spending capacity is like incommensurate with your income. What is your lifestyle like? Are you the type that buys a Gucci bag every excuse you get? Or do you want to get validation, social media validation, and then you spend more than you earn? A lot of people, once they're earning more income, either from their businesses, their salary, or side income, automatically their lifestyle increases. This is a red flag. If you don't put this in check, it will affect your business. So, this is the reason why you need to have a budget. Don't be afraid of having a budget. You should ideally, as a financially responsible adult, know your financial responsibilities monthly and weekly. No pressures, but you should know what you are worth every quarter. I'll give you an example. You sometimes see clips where they talk about the financial worth of celebrities. You hear things like, "Oh, she's worth $10 million. He's worth $15 million." So I ask you, how much are you worth financially? If you don't have an idea of how much you are worth financially in terms of your assets and your liabilities, then you need to go to the back to the drawing board to find that out. But I'm going to have another live session on how to calculate your financial worth. Just something basic, not too complicated. Now, back to managing your personal money management. Do you have a budget? Do you track your expenses? I'm talking about tracking your expenses on your salaries. Let's imagine you're an employee, right? Or you're a content creator, whatever means of income you earn. How do you track your budget? How regularly do you track your expenses? Do you know your monthly burn rate? In fact, do you even have emergency savings? Remember the past live sessions, I always talk about when your income comes in, there are 5 kind of accounts you should have to save you from financial embarrassment. And these 5 accounts are: 1, your income account where you earn your salaries or any income; 2, your daily running expenses account. I mean, the account that takes care of your, those little things you do for yourself every day, your transportation, your feeding, those little expenses, right? And the third kind of account is your emergency fund account. Every financially sane adult should have an emergency fund account. This should be a minimum of 3 to 6 months of your income. Now, the fourth kind of account you should have is your investment account. Now, your investment account basically means the account where you put money that takes care of your investment. Please and please, you have to remember, if you're in your 20s, when you're in your 30s, you cannot work as hard as you worked in your 20s. You can't work as hard when you're in your 40s. Neither can you work as hard as in your 50s. So your investment account practically takes care of you long term. It's like preparing ahead for your old age, because we're all going to be old someday anyway. So the importance of you not keeping your funds in your salary account is because your salary account will not yield you any interest. It won't yield you any returns on investment. Instead, the bank is going to keep taking charges and all that. We all know how banking is like, right? So make sure anytime you earn your income, you diversify your funds into your daily expenses account, your investment account, your emergency funds account, and your long-term goals account. Long-term goals can be you want to buy a car in the next 3 years, or you want to go for a vacation. It's different from what the emergency fund account will do for you. But the very first thing you should focus on is having an emergency account in case you decide you want to resign from your job unceremoniously, right? So if your personal finances are in chaos, your business finances will collapse, because you're going to be putting your fingers inside your profits and your income of your business to take care of your personal self. Your business funds, your business income and profit is not meant for your personal use. It is for the business, because the business is a separate entity from you as an individual. So if you cannot manage your personal finances, if it is chaotic, then your business finances will also be chaotic. And this is one of the reasons why many businesses fail, right? So entrepreneurship is not a walk in the park. Entrepreneurship is not a joke. Entrepreneurship is not for people who are unserious. Anybody can become an entrepreneur, but sustainability and surviving in that entrepreneurship or your business basically depends on how financially disciplined you are, making the right kind of financial decisions. But if you cannot make the right financial decisions for your personal finance, then you definitely will not be able to make the right kind of financial decisions for your business. If one slow month happens in your business, then your business definitely is not ready. You just break to pieces at the end of the day. So we just spoke about your personal management finance system. What is your discipline system? Business requires delayed gratification. So if you're starting a business, definitely depending on the kind of business you want to start, you may need to buy equipment, tools, resources to push your business. Are you willing to delay gratification for your business to grow? Are you the type of person who buys things emotionally? If you do, then you're going to be dipping fingers into your business funds and using it for your personal gratification. So it means you're not yet ready, because you need to be able to delay gratification for your business to grow. And newsflash, not all businesses pick up within the first year. Depending on the kind of industry your business is into, some businesses take 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years to be financially stable. So you're going to be putting in so much work. So if you're not ready to experience delayed gratification, then you are not ready to start that business. Now, remember that your discipline system also is affected in the sense that a business does not guarantee you salary. If your business is not making enough profit, you may not be able to pay yourself any salary. So you need to ask yourself that question: am I ready for this? Right? A business also requires high level of emotional regulation. If you can't regulate your emotions, then that's going to be a serious and severe challenge for you. And then a business also requires self leadership. Can you lead yourself? Because it's one thing to work in a paid employment and you have somebody leading you, and another to leave the paid employment to start a business that requires no level of micromanaging, no level of a boss telling you what to do and how to do. So can you wake up and work without supervision? That's a very crucial information. Can you do that? If you can't work without supervision, then you are not ready to start your own business. Because if not, employment is not, it requires a lot of discipline. Running a business requires a lot of discipline. You are going to need to get to your business whether you're in the mood or you're not in the mood. And some cases, you don't get days off, unlike when you're working in a 9 to 5. Another aspect that you need to fix in case you're having a problem is your skill monetization clarity. Don't start a business, start a revenue skill. So there are many ways. I always tell people that you don't need to have a brick and mortar location to start a business. All you need to do is, there's so many skills in demand. There's copywriting, there's ghostwriting, there's digital marketing, there's closing of sales. There are so many soft skills, technical skills anyway. Consulting is there that you can train on to start as a revenue skill. So the first question before you start a business is, what problem can I solve and who will pay for it? You don't go starting a business because your neighbor started a business, your best friend started a business, and they're earning so much money. That would be a very crucial mistake. So you need a tough level of financial discipline. You need to have skills that you can monetize before you go registering a business, getting a logo, or getting complimentary cards. We have to be real, right? So instead of what can I sell, your mindset should shift to what problem can my skill solve and who will pay for this skill. Now, let me shock you. Most new businesses don't fail because of lack of passion. Everybody has passion to start a business. I'm sure you have a passion to start a business. Everybody has. If you ask a lot of people, what kind of business do you think you can do? There are many ideas people have to start a business. But yet, a lot of people fail in their businesses. The network tripped off for a bit. So a lot of people are anxious to start a business. You hear things like, once you have a passion, you can start a business. So this is me telling you from almost 2 decades experience that having a passion for a business is not enough to use to start a business. Passion is not enough to make your business do well. There are so many basic things you need to have ready. Financial discipline is compulsory. If you cannot manage your salary, your monthly salary, then you are not ready to start a business. So those are part of the things you need to take care of. Your personal financial management plan. What do you have? Do you track your expenses? Do you track your budgets? Do you have the fortitude to delay gratification? Any business you are starting, if you don't have a personal financial plan in place, you are going to be eating out of your business monies. So that discipline is very, very important. So before you go registering a company, before you go incorporating a company, you just need to get your facts right. What skills can you monetize? Right? What skill can you monetize, and what problems can those skills solve? It's not about getting money to quickly go rent a place and do one or two things, right? So another thing I want to tell you about is many reasons why businesses fail is because they have what they call a very poor cash flow management. Sorry, please give me a minute. It's done. Many businesses have what they call a poor cash flow management. And what I mean by poor cash flow management is normally when you earn a salary, you already know where your salary is coming from, right? You know the source of your income, where you work. And then in creating a budget is to understand what are the expenses, your daily expenses, your monthly expenses, your weekly expenses. What are those subscriptions, bills, all those things you pay for consistently and regularly that help you know this is what you use your funds for every month. It is the same rule that applies to running a business. Do you have staff you pay salaries? Depending on how large scale the company is. But you must understand that if you don't have a good cash flow management system for your personal finance, you also will have a poor cash flow management system for your business. Now, another problem that makes businesses fail is what is called undercapitalization. Undercapitalization basically means you don't have enough capital to start the business in the first place. So if your business is the type that needs resources, tools, and you don't have enough money to start it, then you shouldn't start the business yet. You have no business. You must have enough capital. You do your research. If you need $10,000 or $5,000 at the minimum to start a business, to buy some certain equipment, maybe take care of staff salary or do one or two things, then you should have that ready before you start a business. And if you don't have access to a loan from a bank, any other option is to save that from your salary. So undercapitalization is the reason why many businesses fail between the first few years. So you need to check this before you go starting that business. Passion is not enough to start the business. So poor cash flow management affects the business. Undercapitalization affects the business. No emergency buffer. I always talk about having emergency funds. I always preach about it. Anytime you earn income, anytime you earn salary, you should have, as a matter of priority, once you get your income, ensure you diversify your funds. I'm not even talking about having assets and liabilities, because when we're talking about building wealth in terms of building your assets, you should have different classification of assets. It could be a spread between real estate, stock exchange, cryptocurrency, farming, agricultural, tech, hospitality. You can invest in different areas, right? But I'm not talking about wealth management today. I'm talking basically about you knowing what to do and fix before starting a business. So you have to fix that poor cash flow management system, fix the undercapitalization, create an emergency buffer for your business. Now, normally, if you're a salary earner and you don't have any business you're running, ideally as an individual, you should have your own emergency buffer. And this rule also applies when you have a business. Your business should also have its own emergency buffer. And that means when your business is giving you returns, when your business is giving you profit, you should have somewhere you save for the emergency buffer. In case the business runs into trouble, before you file for bankruptcy, your emergency buffer can save you. Now, another very thing that stops people from running profitable businesses that you need to check before you start a business is to ask yourself, are you an emotional spender? Emotional spending also affects lots of businesses from surviving within the first 3 years. And then for your business, what is the pricing strategy? Do you have a competitive pricing strategy for your products or for your services? All these things you need to test run before you go live for your business. So I repeat, many businesses fail because they have a poor cash flow management, they have poor undercapitalization, they do not have an emergency buffer, they do a lot of emotional spending, so you spend into your profit instead of paying yourself some little salary. Now, if your business is not stable within the first 1-2 years, you cannot pay yourself a salary. It just means you have to have some other means of income to support your personal needs. And then having no pricing strategy at all is another very big issue that makes many businesses crash within the first 3 years. So what I mean by no pricing strategies, you have products and services, but your prices are too high. They're much higher than what your competitors are giving. And maybe the value you're giving is not as much as the product or service itself. Or your price is too low and not sustainable for the survival of the business. So people leave staple jobs with zero runway. You know how I am with it. If you're leaving a job to start a business, you should have a minimum of 6 to 12 months of your salary kept in your emergency fund before you go start that business. So at a minimum, like I say, 3 to 6 months. But if you have 12 months, excellent. Personal expenses should be prepared for before going full-time, so you don't use your business money to take care of your personal needs, because business income is irregular. A lot of times, many businesses within the first 3 years, the income is highly irregular. So you have to ask yourself if you are financially, emotionally, mentally, and psychologically ready with consistent income to start that business. Now, if your reason for starting a business, because many people start a business for wrong reason, that's another thing that you need to fix. Ask yourself, why am I starting this business? So if your reason is, I want to start this business because I hate my boss, that is a wrong business. That's a wrong reason, I mean. So your reason to start a business is also what determines if that business will succeed or fail. You shouldn't start a business because you hate your boss. That's not a good reason to start a business. And you shouldn't start a business because you are tired of waking up early. When you start your own business, you're going to be waking up early every day. Trust me. Sometimes you probably will not even get enough sleep. And if your reason to start a business is because you want fast money, newsflash, it doesn't work like that. Business doesn't give you fast money because business income at the beginning, most especially, is highly irregular. And if you're starting a business because everyone is doing this business, that is another bomb waiting to explode in your face. So one of the reasons why people also fail in businesses is because they start the business for the wrong reason. They are not emotionally, mentally, and financially ready to start the business. So don't start a business because you hate your boss. Don't start a business because your work environment is toxic. Don't start a business because you're tired of waking up early and working too hard. Because you're going to work twice as hard when you're running your own business. And don't start a business because you're looking for quick money. No quick money in starting a business unless your business is not legit. And even at that, you run the risk of becoming a criminal and being, the law catching up with you. And don't start a business because your neighbor is doing a business, because everybody is doing business. You need to pause and think. Being an entrepreneur is not a solution to freedom. It doesn't give you freedom. In fact, it's even more tasking and demanding than a salary job, than a 9 to 5. It is responsibility multiplied times 5. I have been there. So you need to fix your mindset before you start that business. Now, so what do you need to do now instead? I've spoken about so many reasons why businesses fail at the beginning, the first 3 years, the wrong reasons why people start their businesses, the lack of emotional capacity, the lack of financial discipline, and not being able to track and account expenses, as well as the wrong reasons starting a business. So what do you need to fix this issue now before you start a business? Fix your spending habits. Track what you spend. Have a budget, a personal budget. Learn how to manage the little you have and get financial discipline before you go starting a business, because at the end of the day, you are going to definitely model your funds. Build a 3 to 6 months savings plan called an emergency buffer. You need it for your business. If you're going to start a business, you need to have an emergency buffer. Start a side income first and let that side income consistently bring in money. Of course, a skill-based side income is what I highly recommend. I mentioned copywriting, ghostwriting, digital marketing, content creation. There are so many side incomes that you can start within the comfort of your home that you don't necessarily need to rent a brick and mortar space or spend so much resources to start. Then validate demand before quitting your job to start the business. Validate the demand for that particular business and consistently track how many clients do you get every month. The level of income coming should at least be 50% of your salary that you earn every month. So if you're earning $100 from your salary every month, it means that your side income should be able to pay you at least $50 every month. Half of what you earn as your salary should come from your side income before you leave that job. Build business skills where you need to. Do a self-audit, right? You just need to be sincere with yourself. Do a self-audit and then build capacity in those areas where you are weak, where you are lacking. And then let employment fund your exit, meaning that let your salaries build you enough by making sure you have that emergency buffer before you exit. So don't let ego or anger or emotional reasons make you rush into uncharted waters, into waters that you're not even used to. And then it's always advisable you should also have a business mentor, someone who has been in that business before you, groomed in that business, and succeeded in that business. So before you start a business, fix your money habits, fix your discipline, fix your savings, fix your clarity. Because business doesn't create character, it reveals it, it exposes it. So if you're not ready for that business, it's going to reveal so many things about you and show that you're not prepared, right? So I mean, thank you so much for staying with me. This finish you need to fix before you start your business, and I'll be seeing you by God's grace tomorrow for the next live session. Thank you very much and have an amazing day. Bye.